so amazing, and you're so beautiful. Let's go on a date. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't talking to you. I was, here, let me introduce you to someone. So, this is Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. She's kind of shy. Real talk. I think that when people are searching for the other person, they're often looking for the perfect person, and they're going to be disappointed because they're never going to find the perfect person. This is my argument. True love is not about finding the perfect person, but the imperfect person who you love for all their imperfections. That's the way I like to look at it, because I think that if you met someone perfect, it would almost be unsatisfying. You know what I mean? By the way, I mean, as long as you're a human, there is no perfection. You can get very close to it. That's true. But perfection does not exist with humans. We're always going to be imperfect. You know what I mean? But as long as you're trying to improve, what else can you do, right? I think that with it being, when you're with someone that is imperfect, it's almost more satisfying because, like, you look at this person, you're like, wait a minute, the good and the bad is all good to me. You know what I mean? For their, loving someone for their quirks, for the positives and the quirks, and then the quirks are the positive. It's like, whoa. You know what I mean? Well, what does this have to do with Pokemon Diamond and Pearl? A lot, actually. So Pokemon Diamond and Pearl are seen as good Pokemon games, but ridiculously flawed, ridiculously imperfect. The only way I can describe it is that the third version of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, called Platinum, that came out 2 years after, the way I like to see Platinum is, and I think a lot of fans are, is this is what Diamond and Pearl should have been in the first place, is what that Platinum is. So, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, I think that with the positives for this game, the starter trio that you can choose from, they're all very cool designs, in my opinion. I mean, that's a very opinionated thing. But Chimchar, Piplup, and Turtwig are all, in my opinion, strong starters. And their final evolutions are the same. Each of the 3 final evolutions are dual-typed. They have dual typing, and it's an interesting dual typing. Like, you've got Infernape, who's fire and fighting, and then you've got Empoleon, who's water and steel. And then you've got Torterra, who's grass and ground. Those are all interesting typings. Well, firefighting, you can argue, is a bit overdone, but if you can look past the fact that it's overdone, I do think it's a cool combination. Let me say that. It's not super unique, but it is a cool combination. And I think that, overall, the region itself has a cool design. I think that Sinnoh as a region is good. There's some very cool atmospheric locations, especially being Mount Coronet and, all the lakes. And like what was I going to say? Yeah, like I think it's a Lake Verity, I think, and Lake Valor, and I don't remember the other one. And yeah, a lot of the routes are overall just well designed, and the way that you travel across the region, I think, is created well. Again, not perfect. It's got its flaws, it's got its quirks. And I do think that the new set of Pokemon they introduced, it's really small, actually. But there are a lot of really cool new Pokemon they introduced. For me, one of the big ones is Arceus, who's like canonically like the god of the Pokemon universe, and that's really interesting. And all of the legendaries they introduced here, in my opinion, are all very strong. I think that what Gen 4 does really well is adds to what has already existed. It's very strong in the fact that it adds to the pre-existing Pokemon and the Pokemon like lore with the, Dialga and Palkia, who are the controllers of space and time, the keepers of space and time. And then you've got Shaman, and you've got, what's a mythical? You've got Darkrai, and then you've got Giratina, who's canonically the Pokemon Satan, which that's crazy. But interesting. And I think that definitely adds to the pre-existing lore that has already existed in Pokemon. And I also think that a lot of the new Pokemon are evolutions and pre-evolutions to existing Pokemon, and they're all done well. They're all great designs, in my opinion. You know, you can have your arguments that maybe, hey, I'm not a fan of this one, but like, for me, my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon is Electivire. I think that Electivire is awesome. I really think it's super cool. Because, like, don't get me wrong, Electabuzz is cool. Electabuzz is a classic design. I like that. I like the yellow and black color. It goes together well. But to me, I think Electabuzz needed an evolution. I really think it did. And Electivire, to me, is just an extremely cool design. It's like a giant electric Thundercat that you just do not want to mess with. And it's got a very intimidating, sinister look, but in a cool way. Not like in a, oh, this just looks stupid. Like, it's a sinister, sort of badass Pokemon design. So I really like Electivire. So for me, now we're going to sort of get into what I think is the big problem with Diamond and Pearl. So, one of the big things for me is that the game moves extremely slow. With all of the old entries in the Pokemon, backlog, you can even say Gen 1 moves a little bit faster than this one. Well, actually, that might be a stretch. Because in Gen 1 and 2, there were no running shoes. So there are running shoes in this game, there's that. But what I'm talking about is more or less the battles are extremely slow in this one. I think they created the sort of UI in this game in a way that even if you have the text speed cranked all the way up, the battles are still going to move extremely slow, and all of the attack animations are also very slow. None of them are particularly quick. Even the ones that are supposed to be fast, in my opinion, could be faster. And when you attack a Pokemon, as their HP goes down, it moves extremely slow. Even if you deal a blow that would immediately one-shot them, it still moves extremely slow. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So, for me personally, it doesn't bother me as much anymore because I'm going to get into this some more. Overall, I still love Diamond and Pearl. I still love those Gen 4 games for what the positives that they did for the franchise, but also the negatives too. I love the games. I think they're amazing. But from a critical standpoint, they're very flawed. They're very flawed games. And another big thing that I like to touch on is that, the new set of Pokemon they introduced are very small. So what that means is that it's possible you're going to need to use old Pokemon to build a sort of competitively viable team, which is not the worst thing in the world if this game overall is super enjoyable. And this is the thing that makes me upset. You can't actually obtain all these new evolutions they made for pre-existing Pokemon. Most of them you can't even get in the main story. You either have to A, trade a Pokemon over from an old game, or B, post-game stuff. You know what I mean? And it's pretty annoying. I'm not even going to lie. For example, one of the Pokemon I like to cite that are, again, I was talking about Electivire. You can't catch the Elekid line in Diamond and Pearl until, I think it's either A, I'm pretty sure you have to transfer it in, or B, it might be a post-game thing, but I'm pretty sure you would have to transfer Elekid or Electabuzz into Diamond and Pearl and then evolve it that way. Evolve it in Diamond and Pearl. And I guess my thing is, the thing that really annoys me is, you're going to make a new Pokemon, you're going to have it completely ready to use, and you're going to put it in the code. Why can't we just use it? That's my big thing. I like to look back to Gold and Silver, because in Gold and Silver, one of, a humongous chunk of the new Pokemon they made, you can't even catch until the post-game. And I'm going to be honest, you buy this game with the intent that I want to use and see some of the new Pokemon. I'm all for having the old ones present too, that's completely fine. but I want to use a lot of the new Pokemon. That's the big thing. And I think that Diamond and Pearl really fell flat in that there's only so many new Pokemon you can really use in the story. And it just, for team building, there are not a lot of options. Ooh, especially if you want a fire type. Now, this to me, this might seem small to someone who's not familiar with Pokemon. This is probably one of the biggest criticisms for this game to me. Yeah, there's one fire type you can use if you didn't pick Infernape. There's literally one fire type. You can use Ponyta and Rapidash. You can use the Rapidash evolution line. I think maybe you can get a fire type Rotom, but I also am not sure about that. But who's going to use that? That's something you would catch later in the game. And like, okay, Rotom's very cool. I am all for Rotom, but I think that's definitely, if it's available in the game, which I couldn't tell you because I've never used a Rotom on my team, I don't think it would be available till later on. Oh, and also, I'm pretty sure you couldn't even get the other Rotom forms in Diamond and Pearl. Pretty sure that was a Platinum exclusive thing. Oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure Rotom might not even be in Diamond and Pearl. No, that's a lie. I'm thinking that thing might... I know okay. So I think that one of the Rotom forms is also part Fire type, and I'm pretty sure that one's only in Platinum. So yeah, straight up, in the main story of Diamond and Pearl, you either A, pick the Fire starter, which a lot of people aren't going to want to do because maybe they prefer the other ones. If you want to use a Fire type at all, you're stuck with Rapidash. No offense, Rapidash, but we need more options than that, right? And you can make the argument that this is... Well, you know what? No, you can't make the argument. This is on the developers for not giving us fire types. And it's very interesting because even in Platinum, so in Platinum, they updated the Pokedex and added like dozens of new Pokemon that you can use, which I really appreciate that they added that. That's a very nice touch. But also, let's be honest, that should have been there in the first place. If you're going to make a whole huge batch of new Pokemon, why would you specifically choose to hold back like a giant chunk of them? I still don't understand why. Yeah, so in the whole Generation 4 Pokédex, the only new Fire-type Pokemon they made were Chimchar, Monferno, and Infernape, and then Magmortar, and then the Rotom Fire form. And it's even funnier. So in Platinum, yes, you can catch a you can get a Magmortar, but straight up, that thing is not available till like you can't. I'm pretty sure you catch a Magmar super late into the game before the Elite Four. I'm pretty sure it might be. It's like before or after the 8th gym. So straight up, you're getting that thing like the end of the game. But in Platinum, they do have a handful of old Fire-type Pokemon. I think it was Houndoom and Flareon, and then obviously you get Magmortar, and then you still have Ponyta and Rapidash. And there might be another one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, wait, that's a lie. Okay, so Heatran's also a fire type that they made in Gen 4, but that's a legendary, so obviously you're not using that in the main story. But no, yeah, it's just... To me, that is a very frustrating thing, because if I'm playing Diamond and Pearl, I personally feel like I almost have to always go with Infernape, because... Don't get me wrong, I like the other two starters, but there are multiple grass types and multiple water types you can catch in the game that are good. And with the fire type, it's basically just Rapidash or no fire type. So I guess what I'll say is that, you know, if I ever want to do a Diamond and Pearl run without Infernape, I guess I'll just use Rapidash, because I like the design. It's a good Pokemon. I'm not against it, but, you know, I say it's frustrating, but also, I will say this, there's way more to life than complaining about Diamond and Pearl on the DS. I hate to burst your bubble, there is like so much more to life than doing that. But, you know, for the sake of what I'm trying to describe, I'm just saying that it can be, these things can be mildly frustrating, but here's the thing. I relate this to, you know, on a more philosophical, more grand scale, true love, because so many video game fans are constantly seeking out the best, most enjoyable video game experience. At the end of the day, all that really matters is whether or not you like it or not. You know, it's like, oh, I have to be dating the most attractive person ever. That's cool, by all means. You really need to be dating the person that you are the happiest with. And whether or not you find them attractive or not, that's really up to you. You just need to find the person that, regardless of whatever's, not perfect about them, whatever flaws they have, you want to be with that person. And none of those things. What was I going to say? Now I'm yapping a little bit. So I relate this to video games as a whole, because I think it's very easy for us as game enjoyers to be very overly critical about video games, and there is absolutely a place for that, because we do that so developers are trying their hardest to make a good game, trying their hardest to make the best game they can. And it's like with us as people, we have a duty to be the best people that we can. But we are absolutely never going to be perfect. And the video games that are made for us are absolutely never going to be perfect. But as long as we are trying our best to make great experiences and to be better people, that is all we can do. So to perfection, I say, if you're chasing perfection, I'm not against it. But if you're expecting perfection, that's where I put my foot down, because it's never going to happen. What I love about Diamond and Pearl so much is that with all of these flaws, they made a region and they made a world that I enjoy experiencing. Most importantly, out of everything in this game, I think they absolutely nailed the atmosphere. I was saying earlier in the video that in this video there were very atmospheric locations in Diamond and Pearl. And for me, the part of the game that I enjoy the most is two things. Any area where you're near a lake and the forest. Because for me, they made a soundtrack for this game that really helps the game, be a better game as a whole. They sort of absorb you into this sort of calming, soothing, relaxing area. Like, I absolutely love the lake theme, and I absolutely love the forest theme from Diamond and Pearl. I think they are phenomenal. And I think that also the story that they made, it's not a deep story, and you can argue it's not, it's not the most captivating or, narrative-driven, heavy story, but it is interesting. It's interesting what's going on, and when you meet the legendary Pokemon, it's interesting. I know that it's so flawed, I know that so many parts of it could have been made better, but also I look at it like, for all that this game is, and all for this game, and I'm stuttering again. It's been a long day, I'm a little tired, and I'm kind of hungry. For all that Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is, and for all that it is not, I love this game. And I think that you have to, when you're out there trying to meet the right person, you have to think about it like this. I need to find the person who, this is perfect about them, this is perfect about them, this is perfect, and this is perfect, and this is perfect. Absolutely nothing wrong with setting a standard. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have to look at it like this. You're not going to find the perfect person because they don't exist. You just need to find someone that you want to be with. Very simply put. You genuinely just want to be there. And obviously it needs to be healthy, this, that, whatever. But you just need to find the person that you want to be with. I think it's genuinely that simple. Yeah. Well, I'm going to play Diamond and Pearl. Wait, actually, should I? Let me see what time it is. Oh, so at the time I'm making this, it's about 4 o'clock. I said 4:22. I'm kind of hungry. I'm gonna go find some food. I've been in the process of bulking, so I've been getting hungrier. 3 meals a day does not do it for me anymore. I typically need four, and on a day where I'm feeling extra hungry, maybe five. But I think that four is a good amount of food for me. And I've also been struggling to like eat fruits and vegetables with every meal. And a couple of my buddies will make fun of me for it, rightfully so. Get your fruits and veggies in, kids. But yeah, enough of that. I'm gonna get out of here. Remember, always have one of these things in your pockets.